Okay, so I'm Erin Bradley. Nice to meet all of you. I am from Milton. I don't actually need this. Yeah. I can talk loud. Yeah. I'm a current select board member there. And prior to that, I served on our finance committee. It's called the Warrant Committee in our town for 5 years. So I'm happy to say that I'm the only candidate in front of you tonight who has actually dealt with the town budget for many years, and I know how difficult it is to make those ends meet. It's been getting harder and harder, and we've been very lucky in Milton that we haven't needed an override, but I was very happy to see that your override passed. But this is something that's happening across the district. It's not just a Braintree issue or a Milton issue. This is something that we're going to have to really start tackling on the state level. And specifically, it's going to be education that we should take a look at, because that's the biggest budget buster that we have. So let me tell you a little bit about me, and then we're going to go back into that. So I'm Erin Bradley. I'm from a small town in Western Mass. It's called Agawam, Mass. And I'll know how old you are if you remember it by Riverside or if you remember it by Six Flags like my daughter does. So if you're old like me, it's Riverside all the way. I loved growing up there. I went to a small Southern Baptist school in North Carolina where I really learned my advocacy. We started a protest there when Jesse Helms was coming to our school. If you don't know who Jesse Helms is, please Google him. He was an awful U.S. Senator in North Carolina. And so I'm very happy to say that I used my voice to stand up against what he was standing for. From there, I traveled across the country, landed in Chicago, and became the youngest photo editor at the Chicago Sun-Times. It's a badge that I will always hold because, unfortunately, they have since gotten rid of their photography department because newspapers are just folding and folding and folding. So that's my pitch for all of you to pay for your local media, pay for your newspapers, because it really does matter to have a free press to hold me accountable when I'm your next state senator. So from there, I came back to Boston. I worked at the Boston Herald, lost that for a second, Boston Herald, and I happened to be in New York City at a Red Sox-Yankees game watching the US Open when 9/11 happened. So I covered Ground Zero for the Boston Herald for 4 days. It was a really, obviously horrific event, but being there on the front lines and really seeing what was happening to our country made me take a look at what I was doing and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to give back to people. So I decided I would go into something a little bit easier, and I chose politics. So from there, I actually went to work for the Senate President. She wasn't the Senate President then, but I started working for her, and so I'm the only candidate in this race that has actual state Senate experience. We drafted bills, we went through conference committees. I was the one who was handling all of that, and I'm very happy to say that many pieces of our legislation were actually signed into law. One of those was, and I'll just take one, but we changed the Department of Mental Retardation to the Department of Developmental Disabilities. That was a big one for folks, and we really wanted to get that through. For those that don't know, the Senate President had a sister who suffered from Down syndrome, so this was something that was near and dear to her heart. So I'm very happy to say that we worked on that and we got it passed. That's just one of the many bills that I've gotten passed and worked on. From there, I ran a statewide nonprofit. I was the executive director there. We had hundreds of members. I doubled the size of the budget while I was there, and we advocated for kids and families in DMH, DCF, and DYS care. So that's what I did. I really worked to stop that school-to-prison pipeline. I worked to bring families together, and I worked to make sure that those kids got the services that they needed so that they could thrive in their home communities. So why am I running, right? Because this is not a job that anybody else would want to run for, because it's, all the time. I'm running for a couple of reasons. One, I'm the only one that has this kind of experience. I'm the only one that can actually say I've done this work, and I understand how difficult it is to make these things work. If we had just taken our education, our Chapter 70 funding, and we had tied that to inflation, we would get $437 million more this year alone. That would be huge for our cities and towns because, as I said earlier, education is our biggest town buster. It is the transportation for it, special needs, all of those things are just skyrocketing. So we really need to take a look at that. I'm also really in favor of housing. So I voted for the MBTA communities. I still support the town of Milton and the fact that we are fighting this, but I got to tell you, it's part of the law. And it's something that we should be following, because it's not fair that just Milton doesn't have to follow the law, but the rest of the district does. So I'm here to say that I continue to support the MBTA communities. I continue to support affordable housing. I continue to be a champion for all of those things because it matters. My daughter, hopefully one day, will move out of my house, please Jesus. And she hopefully will be able to afford a home, right? That's what we all want for our kids. We want them to be able to afford a home, settle down, make their roots, and your grandbabies can come back, you know, many years from now, but they can come back and hang out, right? Well, right now they can't. Our biggest demographic that's leaving this state is 25 to 35-year-olds because they cannot afford to buy a new home, because housing prices are out of control. And that all comes back down to affordable housing. We need to start putting more housing in our places so that we can actually accommodate the citizens that we have, and people can actually stay in their home communities. I currently work with seniors. I work I go to their homes and help them fill out applications for Mass Health and SNAP and fuel assistance. So I see firsthand of what's happening to our seniors. Many of them live in 5-bedroom houses. They don't need that anymore. They would love to downsize, but they don't want to leave their church or their council on aging or their friends that they've had for the last 30 years. So this housing issue is really something that we have to tackle. And like I said, I still continue to support the MBTA communities, and I will not be fighting the SJC decision when it comes out, because I think it's really important that Milton also should comply with what has been handed out. So those are the two things. The final thing is I really want to work together as a district. I've been meeting with people across this district who are in, who've won select board races, or they've won school committee races, and just regular folks. And the thing that I've realized the most is that we can be more effective if we bring our voices together, right? So I've worked in coalition. I've worked with over 200 different organizations to pass legislation. It took us 7 years, but we did it. And that's something we need to do in our district. We really need to start working together, because the issues that are happening in Braintree are the same issues that are happening down in Bridgewater. They have the same issues. And so if we all come together and bring our voices to the State House and really make an impact, I believe that we can bring more back for our district as a whole. And finally, I want to say, on January 2nd, after I'm sworn in, I'm inviting all of you up to the State House, because the State House is the people's house. And I think we forgot that somewhere along this line. And so for me, having all of you come up, visit, tell me what's going on, tell me what interests you, that's the only way that I'm going to be effective. And I'm going to be effective because I'm going to put all my votes on my website. You will know exactly how I vote on every single piece of legislation. I will not only believe in transparency, I will lead by showing transparency, and I will hope that my colleagues will also join forces. So that's me. Please check out my website, Erin for State Senate. I asked for your vote on September 3rd. If you haven't already gotten the ballot, please go to the ballot box on September 3rd. I'm the first one because I'm alphabetically the first. So, so please vote for me. And thank you all for being here this evening. I really appreciate it.